One of the things lots of people like to do when they're traveling is to take pictures of children. Their own children. Those are my nephews right there with my brother and sister-in-law. But that's not what I'm talking about. I mean other people's children. Cute kids, really cute kids. Sometimes doing really cute stuff and maybe even wearing really cute traditional clothing or maybe even hamming it up for the camera because they're just loving getting their picture taken. But there's something kind of funny about this because most of the time the people taking the photos are white and relatively rich, as in they can afford to travel to another country. And most of the time the children are black or brown or Asian and relatively poor. Not always, but most of the time. Should we be doing this? Is it racist? Is there a power imbalance here, vaguely reminiscent of the Me Too movement? And what should we think of the person that shot all these photos you're seeing right now? Should we condemn him as a horrible human being? Maybe we should, but we should also subscribe to his YouTube channel, Globally Curious. Welcome to Globally Curious, real talk about real travel, and sometimes actual real travel. Did you see the Colombia video I did? In any case, this topic of kids' photos came up just a couple days ago. My parents just moved into a new apartment, and they brought with them some framed pictures of kids I shot back in about 2003 when I went on my first trip to Colombia and Brazil. And I shot these in the Amazon. They're all Colombian and Brazilian kids. This was before I was even a travel writer. I was just taking pictures for my own album, for my own memories. And these kids were totally willing subjects, so that's okay, right? And it's totally cool because I showed them the pictures on the back of the digital camera and they really loved that. Except that was the year before I got my first digital camera, so they never saw the pictures at all. And I definitely don't recall asking the kids if they'd mind if I put up enlargements of them in my parents' house 15 years later. Well, in case you didn't figure it out, I'm quite uneasy with having taken these pictures, so let's think about this issue a little more. Under what circumstances would you take pictures of adorable kids you come across when you travel? Let's say for the sake of argument that you're a white traveler and you come across a group of young kids playing in their underwear in the shallow water on an isolated beach in, say, Tofu, Mozambique. You've got a camera, they are really interested in it, they've never seen a camera like this before, they ask to see the pictures in your phone, and you've got a Chicago-style pizza of all things in your phone, and they think that's totally fascinating, they have no idea what it is, and they readily agree to pose for your camera. There are no adults anywhere in sight. In fact, there's no one anywhere in sight. It's a totally isolated beach. Would you take pictures of them? Okay, second scenario. Let's say you're at a medieval festival in rural Sweden. There's tons of kids, super adorable kids, crazily blonde kids. They look like they'll grow up to be like princes and princesses in 1930s fairy tales. They're eating ice cream and they're kind of fake sword fighting and their parents are standing not too far away. Would you take pictures of them? I'm gonna guess that many people out there would take pictures of the African kids with no parents around and would not take pictures of the Swedish kids. And I suppose there's lots of ways to justify this. You might have figured out by now, I was actually in both of those situations. African kids, you could argue, are really something different. I wanted to remember this moment. They were totally cute. Meanwhile, the Swedish kids were also adorable. They're not exactly like the kids back home. People here are not quite as blonde, but they're not really that different. They're kind of dressed the same as kids in the United States. And would walking up to them and starting a conversation and then taking their pictures be different? Why in the world is it more creepy in Sweden to take pictures of kids than it is in Mozambique? Isn't the only real reason that they're dark-skinned and exotic and the Swedish kids are more kind of normal? Or is it that you can imagine the parents getting really mad at you in Sweden, and probably that wouldn't happen in Mozambique? Now, kids are a great part of travel, meeting kids from other countries, and I've always loved working with kids. I used to be a teacher, and also I'm a real enthusiastic photographer, and if something looks like it would make a good photo, I want to take a picture of it. And let's face it, kids are a lot more telegenic than adults. Am I right? I'm right. None of these are like open and shut cases. It's not like you can never take pictures of kids when you're traveling. And I could give you a litany of defenses about why I took pictures of the kids in Mozambique, and I think some are pretty reasonable. Walking up and talking to these kids was totally natural. They were the only people anywhere around, and it would have been weird if I didn't talk to them. And I actually had quite a long conversation with them. Mozambique is a former Portuguese colony, and I speak Portuguese, and the kids learn Portuguese in school. So we really actually kind of chatted it up. I asked them where they lived. They said they lived in a village, kind of, 20-minute walk away. So I wasn't going to go there and ask their parents if I could take pictures of them and then come back. So I asked the oldest one, she was about 13, whether it would be okay to take pictures, and they actually loved the idea. And the other thing that definitely makes a difference, although I'm not sure which way, is that I was there on assignment for my old column, Frugal Traveler. And part of my job was to provide images for the newspaper, for my stories of the things I saw. If I was going to write about bumping into the kids, and it was a great travel moment, I wanted to show the kids. In Sweden, I was definitely more hesitant. First of all, I was a 42-year-old man traveling alone with a big camera in an event that was mostly kids. I was literally the exact stereotype of a child molester. I'm aware of that, and I'm aware people in Sweden may have that image of me. I'm not sure that image exists in Mozambique, although maybe it does. Now, I did take some pictures of those kids. I took them when the kids were sort of participating in one of the events, like jousting or whatever, or fake sword fighting with a clown. And I assumed that was sort of fair journalistic game. They're doing something at a public event in public. Okay, so what was the result of all this? Here's one of the kids from Mozambique. This ran in an online article. Now, the kid is vaguely out of focus, but I think you could still identify him. I'm sure his family could. I have no idea whether the family ever saw this. It's certainly possible they did, and I guess chances are they would think it was pretty cool that their kid was in the New York Times. But I totally do not know. I'm totally not sure. And by the way, the Times did publish a picture of one of the Swedish kids. Okay, so those are some excuses. I've just tried to justify my own actions. But what if I reverse the scenario and let's say a very well-to-do African-American traveler was in Ireland and came across some really cute kids in kind of a relatively low-income kind of rural community in Ireland and started taking pictures of them and then posted selfies on Instagram. Here's a mock-up of what that would look like. Isn't that kind of creepy? Doesn't that kind of make you uncomfortable? I mean, what if they were your kids and then you saw them on a random stranger's Instagram post? And yet somehow this other image, which is not a mock-up because you can find millions of examples online, is taken all the time. So I think there's a few things you should consider. Do you have permission from an adult, from one of their parents? That's certainly better, although the power balance there might still not be exactly fair. I mean, when you ask kind of a poor family if you can take their picture, do they really feel like they can say no? I don't think that everyone out there really would feel comfortable saying oh, I'm sorry, rich tourist, but please respect our privacy. By the way, they might not even speak English. So my advice there is ask them in a way that makes it obviously clear that they can say no. You really want to know whether it's okay with them. And if you don't get that yes, I would just avoid it. Who cares? I mean, is it really the end of the world? You need a picture of a cute kid. Second, how do the kids appear in your picture? I mean, if it's like a portrait of the kid, that's on the creepier side. If it's a crowd of kids playing soccer, like a pickup game of soccer, and it's totally a public area, that's certainly better. You're taking a picture of an activity. You're not just taking a picture of a kid, and the focus is on that activity. Hey, look at this soccer game I saw these kids playing. Third, what is your relationship with these kids? I mean, it's not always the case that you just met them and 1 second later you try to take their picture. So let me give you two examples of times when I actually thought it was perfectly okay to take pictures of the kids. The first one was when I spent 2 or 3 days on a boat in the Amazon. You sleep on a hammock and around everyone else, so it kind of becomes like sort of one big family for a couple of days. My hammock happened to be hanging up next to this family, really nice family, with really adorable children. They're actually moving from one end of the Amazon to the other, and we got to know each other quite well. Like, we ate meals together, I joked with them, we all knew each other's names, and then at some point I said to the parents, hey, I'm doing a story about my trip. I'd love to take some pictures of your kids. And that's just, to me, a no-brainer. And in fact, I'll show you the kids right here. I have no problem showing with you those kids. They were great, and actually I really hope they see this and they write to me and they tell me what they're up to. Okay, fourth question. Are you taking the picture of the kids, or is it a selfie with you in it? Okay, now selfies of like white travelers or white volunteers working in Africa or whatever, I think makes everybody uneasy these days. I hope no one's still posting those things on their Facebook page. And finally, last question, what are you planning to do with this photo? If no one is ever going to see it except for you, and you want it as a cherished memory, then it's certainly not as bad. If it's not a cherished memory, if you basically have no other reason to take this picture except you thought it would make a cute picture, well then why are you taking a picture of these kids at all? And where is your collection of wealthy Parisian children?